Hubbali's 5th Additional District Court has dismissed the bail plea of Kashmiri students of KLE College who raised pro-Pakistan slogans. Judge K. Gangadhar dismissed the bail application of the 3 Kashmiri students who recorded a video raising pro-Pakistan slogans on the 14th of February. In fact, these 3 students who hail from Kashmir had raised pro-Pakistan slogans on the Pulwama Martyrs' Day, following which the Hubbali Bar Association had decided that none of the lawyers from the Bar Association is going to represent them. Of course, a few of the advocates from Bengaluru then went to Dharwad to fight the case for the 3 Kashmiri students who had raised pro-Pakistan slogans. Supreme Court Advocate K.V. Dhananjay joins me over the phone line. Thank you, Mr. Dhananjay, first of all, for talking to Newsline. Now, tell us what exactly lies ahead for these 3 students. Will they get bail?
First of all, not granting bail for a speech offense always means that the court should find a very strong reason to keep them in custody. Now, unfortunately, these are all cases where the courts are also so very polarized and they might not have been able to see things quite objectively. These are people from Kashmir, and people from Kashmir know more about Kashmir than people anywhere else in India. Now, for whatever they know about Kashmir, if they have a certain opinion, political opinion, and if they express it, even if that opinion is not acceptable to the others, that shouldn't give anybody the right to just, initiate the criminal process against them. So I believe that the denial of bail was not really warranted because, all of these bail provisions ultimately will have to make sense if there is a case so much so that they could be tried and they could be convicted. But I can tell you, we lawyers have access to all the judicial records, judgments and all of all the courts in all the countries of the world, and you won't be able to find any judgment in which anyone has been convicted because they said Pakistan Zindabad, or they've said something like India is not treating Kashmiris fairly or anything like that. You won't find any conviction in this country. So when you know very well that the eventual outcome is going to fizzle out, what's the point in keeping people in custody? That doesn't make sense. And so to that extent, I think there is a setback to those 2 students. And now I believe this would be a trial court. So they obviously have the opportunity to move the High Court of Karnataka, situated in Dharwad, the Dharwad bench of the High Court. And their chances actually will certainly multiply when they go to a High Court, because very often in the High Courts, these aspects come to the fore, because High Courts are always on the vanguard in protecting our constitutional right to free speech. So they are more likely to, see such crimes alleged crimes in the proper perspective.
Right. Dhananjay, do tell us what are the IPC sections these 3 students have been booked under. And I remember, you and I had a discussion regarding that Amulya case as well. There also, she raised pro-Pakistan slogans. So in this case as well, these 3 students have raised pro-Pakistan slogans. But you say raising pro-Pakistan slogan is not a crime.
It is not a crime because it can't just be a crime. The way it works is people sometimes, even well-meaning people, sometimes curse their parents. Are you going to arrest them because they just, orally or verbally abused their parents? You wouldn't. And then the next day they fall in love again, and then they, in fact, take their parents out for dinner or something like that. So people make emotional outbursts all the time. And very often, if someone is not really happy with something the government of India has done, maybe they will take the side of Pakistan. But, if you do objectively look at it, no person could possibly love Pakistan because Pakistan is more or less a failed country. And yet, if someone wants to say something good about Pakistan, maybe they are trying to say, something bad about their own motherland. And saying something bad about their own motherland is, by the way, not a crime. People say bad things about their own parents. We don't arrest anybody who does that because, saying things does not necessarily mean that, you have reached a point where you are going to divorce your parents and you are going to run away from them forever. Nothing like that. So that is how these things have to be seen. And these are college students. We also, they are still a part of India now. Kashmir is a part of India. They are our citizens. They've come here a distance to study. And why did they even come from Kashmir? They came away from Kashmir to study because there were not many opportunities to even have a proper engineering or something there. So they've come here. So they've come here, and what are we doing now? We have kept them in custody. We make it even more difficult for them to pursue it now. How will this be seen by the media in Kashmir, by the community in Kashmir? They will think that Kashmir is far more isolated than they would want to think. That's all really very bad for the country, isn't it? We have to look at look at these things holistically. And your question that what kind of sections will be slapped here? Most likely, I think it's a case of sedition, 124A. And
Does
then,
it amount to sedition? But
I think that's in fact because that's the provision under which they would have charged these people. No, I mean, booked rather, because the charge only happens later after they file a charge sheet. That carries a punishment of up to 3 years. And then again, and now it just does not matter what happens in these cases at this stage, because eventually, I can tell you, we could have a discussion a year later. You will find that this case was closed, because no police would take this matter to a court and say, please convict them. And even as far as the judge denying them bail is concerned, very often the judge would not have asked more searching questions like, what good is it in keeping these people in custody? Perhaps they could have completed their engineering. Maybe if they would complete their engineering, they can go back to Kashmir and they can improve the region, because that's so very, unfortunately, it used to be a very forward region 100 to 200 years ago, but today it's so very backward.
right.
So I think we need to look at it in a holistic perspective. You just need to, these are silly, these are just students. What damage can they possibly do to India? India is a great
Right.
country. It's a very robust country, and we shouldn't really fear some utterances by these misguided youth.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dhananjay, for joining us with all of those important insights.